Hi there, I'm Sarah Zarella, a portrait and wedding photographer and your host for Wedding Secrets Unveiled. This is a podcast where we cut through the complexity of wedding planning, leaving you with everything you need to know direct from the industry experts. If you want to simplify your wedding planning, while having fun, of course, you came to the right place. Join me while I guide you through your planning, starting from your engagement to your big day where you say, I do. After photographing for the past 18 years, I am sharing with you tips and tricks to cut through the excess noise because I believe from the moment you said yes, your planning experience should be a magical time in your life. Here you'll find episodes that are fun, stress-free, and straight to the point, with a fresh, honest take about the reality of what you really need to know about planning your perfect day. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled, podcast friends. Okay, so you have the ring. You picked the date, which means you picked the venue location. Most of you have been working with a venue coordinator, but what does this mean? Do you know that there's a difference with a venue coordinator and a wedding planner? Do you even know what the difference is? So many couples make the mistake of thinking that they are one of the same. Today, my guest, Michelle Ryder from Lake View Pavilion, is going to break it all down for us. She's going to explain the difference when you should hire a wedding planner and when you don't need a wedding planner because you have an event coordinator that does it all. Trust me, there's actually a difference. We hope by the end of this podcast, you will know the difference between a wedding planner and an event coordinator and when you should have both and when you don't need both. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my episode with Michelle Ryder. Well, welcome, Michelle.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Absolutely. I actually just have to mention one thing. I'm getting a kick. I wish there was a video on us right now because we're literally sitting here with like the dueling waters. Like I think I have a gallon, 2 gallons.
Oh my God, that's easily like a 2-gallon jug. My coworkers make fun of me because of this, and they're like, "How do you drink that much water in the day?"
That's like 1/3 of what I'm rocking right now.
I walked in and immediately I was like, "Oh my God, do you drink all that in one sitting?"
I try.
I mean,
success rate out of 7 days in a week, probably 1 day a week. I nail it. But when I do, I'm so excited.
But let's be real. Like when we're in our busy season, you're going to drink that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt in my mind. I'm going to go through this twice. And then we don't pee all day because we don't have time for that.
No. Who has time to go to the bathroom when they're working?
None of us do.
Well, for our listeners, now that we've, had the dueling water gallon, a thon over here, can you tell them a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and what you do in your business?
I would love to. So, as you said, my name is Michelle. I am the marketing and event coordinator at Lake View Pavilion, which is a beautiful location in Foxborough, Massachusetts. We serve everybody. We do primarily weddings, but we also do shower events. We do birthday parties, reunions, sports banquets, proms. So we can really serve a lot of different clientele. And we have been nonstop busy for the past 33 years that we have been open. We are a family-run business. So we really are nonstop. Between our owners, even the parents come in, to assist us, the siblings. So we really have not stopped.
That's crazy. And also, too, you're newly renovated.
Yeah. So we
had
a few
years now.
Yeah, we had our fire back in April 2014. And
has it been really? It feels like
amazing?
It was like a couple of years ago.
We reopened September 2015. So
so newly renovated.
Yeah,
and a couple seasons down. And which is gorgeous. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out. And how long have you been there for?
I have been there just 5 years.
Wow,
I can't believe it.
Time flies.
It does. I can't believe that it's been 5 years, and to see, what we have done in just a short 5 years. It's been remarkable.
Well, Dan and I were just there this past winter. It was our last wedding. We closed out one of our last weddings of the season over there. So that was exciting.
And, of course, everything that you give us is always pure magic.
Aww,
so
thank you, my friends.
So check out Lakeview Instagram. Of course, you'll see some Sarah Zarella photos there.
Yeah, and what I'll do, obviously, for the listeners, underneath the show notes, I'll actually put all of your information there so they can check it out. But with that said, let's get into the topic, because the topic, I don't think people realize that this is actually a topic.
And you know what? No, they don't. And I think that this is something that's like very challenging for me, because when you see things on social media, of course it sparks your interest, attention. And, recently there was a lot of information going around about like why you need a wedding planner. You need that wedding planner because they don't provide the same service that a venue coordinator does.
And that's what I think for the listeners, that's what we're going to talk about today is we're wedding planner versus wedding coordinator.
Correct.
Two different things.
Different.
And different roles for each venue.
Correct. Not every venue is the same, and what you're getting from every venue is the same.
Yeah, so there's a lot to cover.
A lot. Are you ready?
Yeah, and actually, you know what, though? So the way this show kind of came, this episode came, is you actually approached me and you were like, this is a great topic. And so it's interesting to see where you came up with that. So you've been seeing it out. It's been put out there on social media and whatnot. Yeah. And you're probably, like, when you scroll, you're probably like, no.
I was getting so angered because, I have a lot of friends that are wedding planners. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I also thought to myself, this is something that I do on the daily. Like everything that they're saying that venue coordinators don't do is something that I, in fact, do. So it was definitely something I wanted to talk about because I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
Right. Let's if I may, can you? Yeah. I know we're going to talk about what a venue coordinator does. And like you said, there's a lot of venue coordinators that don't do what you do. But let's just, for example, for people who are listening, let's dumb it down for a second.
Yeah.
What is an event coordinator?
Sure. That's something that I'm still learning at the same time too, Sarah. I know that sounds silly.
So is that not a dumb down?
Yeah. Let's go way back. So typically a venue coordinator is someone that oversees everything that's happening at the venue day of for an event. Whether it be speaking with the kitchen staff to go over the information that needs to be described to the wait staff to understand. There's a chain line of events that happen. But what I do at my job is a lot different. And again, some venue coordinators, they love their job. They love going in. They just love executing the event itself. And then they love going home at the end of the night and not rethinking about the event. That's just not what I do, and that's not how our venue operates. We go from 0 to 100. We're looking at that whole plan from the 2 months out. We're really trying to get an understanding of who they are, what they're looking for, what I can do for them. And then my manager and I really start getting into the ceremony details. Who are the vendors? Because that's a big thing for us, too, is to make sure that the venue coordinator and the vendors all work together as one team that day. Because if they don't, it's like a game day. If things are not in place, you lose the game. So we're really trying to make sure it's a successful day for all of us. And then actually doing the rehearsal, meeting the members of the family, meeting the bride and groom. Sometimes we meet the bride and groom way ahead of time, but sometimes we meet them at the rehearsal and making them feel comfortable with where they are. But I also think the comfortability comes from the get-go when you're doing that venue tour, and I know we can get into that. But it's making sure they feel a part of our family because we are a family-run business. So that helps a lot too.
So in my mind, you just explained a wedding planner. So what is the difference?
You're right. You're definitely right, Sarah.
Well, no, there is actually a difference, but
there is a difference. No, it is a trick question. A lot of wedding planners, because I've worked for some before, they're really getting into the details as far as from 7 a.m. in the morning until 12 at night, what is happening. And it's a detailed plan. A lot of what I do is when they step into our venue and step into our doors, how are we taking care of them for the rest of the time? But I'm also treating them as a planner would treat them from the second they come in my door till they leave at the end of the night. And a lot of people are actually in shock of the service that we provide compared to some other venue coordinators or compared to other weddings they've attended. They're like, I've never seen such service before in my entire life. And like you said, I'm pretty much describing a wedding planner, but I'm an in-house wedding planner at a venue.
Right. And also, too, I think it's important to understand that not every event coordinator does what you do. There is a difference between venues. Like some event coordinators, or not as hands-on as, for example, you are. So I think it's going to be important for us to touch upon that, about what is the difference. How do they know what type of coordinator they're getting too?
Yeah, and I think you understand this too, Sarah. I mean, you own your own business. You know that you are living and breathing your business. And where I've worked for this business for 5 years, and I work for a family-run business, I feel like I'm part of this family, and I feel like it's my business, that when they step in that door, if I don't make that good first impression for them, we're just going to be forgettable to them. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is your love for weddings, but also the love for the client, and making sure that the event that they're having is everything that they have wanted from the moment that they've got engaged to the minute they walk out the door.
Right. And I think too, just from being a photographer, right? And I am there with them before they arrive to the venue. I'm there obviously all throughout the time that they're at the venue. I'm at different locations, different venues. I'm so happy that we're talking about this, because I want you as a listener, guys, to understand that each venue has different coordinators. There's different roles that those coordinators do. And there is a difference between, all joking aside, there's a difference between a wedding planner and a venue coordinator. So let's just start diving in. And so take it with this. If you obviously you have a location picked out, I think the first thing I would say is to find out what the role is that your event coordinator does. So that way you can try to figure out if you need if you need a wedding planner or not.
I even think I'm going to rewind even further, because
Awesome.
I think it's not about just sending an email inquiry to understand what the venue does for you. I can tell you that in my package, an event coordinator throughout the entire time will be there. But that doesn't actually mean anything. If I were to read that, I would be like, what does that really mean? You need to go to that venue itself and really talk to the people that are there. And honestly, my owners have always said to me, the first impression will sell them. If they walk into the doors and they don't feel like they can trust that this venue can execute their day flawlessly, then don't bother. Something can look really good on paper, but it's not until you actually walk into the space and meet with maybe the sales manager to understand how the event is run. I think that's definitely number one. You have to start with the trust there. The second part is actually look at the venue's reviews and look at the photos, look at the food, get an understanding of how they actually run their business. Again, for me, I am a family-run business. We are women-owned, women-operated, so we're very precise on how we do things. We're very controlling on how we run things. We run a very tight ship, as Sarah would know. We stick to that timeline very strictly. But some people don't realize that when they're just looking at a venue. They see the pretty pictures and they see, the communication back and forth between the sales manager. But it's more than that. And that's why even when tours come in, I make sure that I'm actually a presence there, because I want them to see, wow, that event coordinator is really involved with her staff. She's really on top of what's going on. Like, I can only imagine that that's what she's going to do the day of my event. And the way that I treat every client of mine is that I want to be treated I want them to be treated how I would want to be treated. So I want someone on my wedding day to treat me like royalty. So I'm going to make sure that on their wedding day, they're treated like royalty. And I mean, this is honest, Sarah. I'm not getting paid anymore to go out of my way to make sure that their day is phenomenal. I am doing my job, and I want to go the extra mile because I know how at the end of the day it will make them feel.
Right. I mean, there's obviously a passion and a love. And I mean, and like you said, if the listeners walk in and be around someone like yourself or you, they're going to know that they're in good hands. But what if they find out that it's not everything you're explaining and not everything that they're getting? What can they do at that point?
I think every client has a different experience. Again, as far as I've been there for 5 years, 99% of clients that have gotten married with us absolutely love their day. Everything is run flawlessly, and you've been, you've been there for situations like that. I think that I would step in personally throughout the planning process if they wanted to get a better idea of what's going to happen that day, because I am the one that works with my staff. I work with my bartenders. I work with the vendors to make sure that all around that timeline is run smoothly. I know that recently we've had a lot of people asking us, what's your ratio of servers to tables? And in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't even affect us because we do a sweep service. So it doesn't matter. So I want clients to focus on things that really at the end of the day is not going to change how I run my event, but focus on things that are going to make you happy. Don't worry about things that are too that's my job to worry. That's not your job to worry.
But that's what I'm saying. What happens if they don't have an event coordinator like yourself that's hands-on? Like if they're starting to realize, like you said, for example, to walk in, meet with the staff, and, like you said, someone can email you everything they do, but it doesn't matter until they actually see it and feel it. So for some of the listeners right now, for example, they're like, wait a minute, like my event coordinator doesn't do this or this or this, or they don't have that passion that they can obviously see that you have, or maybe they've been passed around through 3 or 4 different coordinators, because sometimes that happens at venues. Is that when you suggest that a wedding planner comes in, or what is something that you can tell them to put them at ease to know that they can?
And don't get me wrong here. We've had several wedding planners at our venue because for some reason the clients want to feel like someone else has control of the entire situation. Because I'm not the one that's organizing the hair and the makeup and when photo comes and what time. We do offer services that do that, but sometimes they want to make sure that they have someone from the beginning of the day till the end that knows like they don't have to worry about absolutely anything. And again, unfortunately, where I step in, 2 months before the event, it's a little bit tricky. But again, it goes back to building that trust from the get-go. If they feel comfortable with that sales manager that's helping them plan those details throughout the entire time, they can only imagine that the next people that they're going to meet are going to, produce the same work that the other person produced. And like you said, though, specifically at Lakeview, we're a small office. We're only 7 people. So you are going from our event sales manager, our event planners, to meeting with our owners to do your final details and final balance, to then my manager and myself. So you definitely are going through a string of people, which can be difficult, but it's about making the client feel comfortable from the get-go. This is our team. Mm-hmm. We work as a team.
Yep.
And if you tell them that from the beginning, that helps. It's when listeners are left not knowing who am I going to get next. And that's the tough part is you want that transparency from the beginning.
Because you could have different people you work with, but that's part of the process and that's part of your team. Or sometimes you might have only one person that you work with. But like what you're explaining is they meet, there's 7 of you guys and you guys all work as a team. And so if that process is explained, you talked about a question that some people ask where they ask you like, what's your ratio? But what are some questions that people should be asking their venues upon visiting?
Yeah. A big question that we do get is, day of, what am I getting? A wedding planner is helping with your decor, helping with the florist, setting up centerpieces. Unfortunately, that's just not something we do because it will occupy a majority of my time. So if a situation arises where like I said, your centerpieces are elaborate, your decor is elaborate, that's something where you would hire some sort of outside event planner.
But the execution at the venue is in your hands.
Is in my hands. And I've talked about this before with a lot of different people. When it comes to day of, my timeline is my timeline for a reason. At our venue, the kitchen runs the timeline. And if I'm skewed from that, it leads to bigger issues. So we want to make sure we stick to that timeline. And some planners come in and have their own timeline and try to operate in a certain way, but they've never been at our space or they don't work for our space, so they don't understand that we actually do things for a reason. We don't just do them because we feel like it makes sense for us. We're running your timeline for you. We have all your detail information on file that day. We know where all of your items are. We know who your parents are. We get all this information so we're so informed that your event is just executed flawlessly.
So some of the questions that they might be able to ask upon visiting the venue is, do you guys do two timelines? And then where does the timeline start? So, for example, for you, your timeline starts the moment they step on that property. But anything prior, that's when a wedding planner should come involved.
I agree. I mean, a lot of the times, some brides figure that out themselves, or couples figure that out themselves. Because they work with the makeup artist that's done a ton of weddings. They work with that photographer that has done a ton of weddings. But for us, that timeline, you're right, does begin from the second that they walk in till the minute they leave. And it's detailed so thoroughly that we actually have like when guests are seated, when the meal is plated, when the speeches happen, when we don't want to leave anything questioned, and we want to make sure we have complete control.
All right, Michelle, so we talked a little bit about timelines, and we talked a little bit about, asking and meeting the coordinator. But what's one more question that our listeners can be asking their venues upon visiting?
I think one of when a lot of couples come in to tour with us, the next big question they ask is, do you work with local vendors? Do you work with, who do you recommend that will make my day great? And of course, we have a preferred vendor list that we've had for a lot of years, but having been there for almost 5 years, I work with a lot of vendors that I know just run their business the same way that we run ours. So of course, Sarah, the way you do it and the way you photograph our venue is phenomenal.
Thank you.
But it's important to work with a DJ company, a band, a videographer, that they all get along as well. And that they're understanding that you as the event coordinator run what's happening. Nothing drives me more crazy, to be honest, when a vendor comes in and says, well, this is actually how we're going to do things. And my response is, actually, well, this is how we're going to do things. Again, like I said, the kitchen runs the timeline. So I make sure to accommodate all vendors. And of course, our clients are more than welcome to pick any vendor that they would like, whether they're local here in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, northern part of New England. You can have anyone you want. But again, make sure that you're picking a vendor that, one, has worked at my venue before, and two, has worked with other vendors that you are choosing as well.
Okay, Michelle. So basically, if I'm understanding correctly, kind of what we're saying here is that there is a difference between venue coordinators from different venues. And I think after the break, we should talk about what you do at your venue. But there's also a difference with, obviously, like we talked about, the venue coordinator and then the wedding planner. But really, if you have a venue coordinator that does what you do, and we'll kind of go over that after the break, the wedding planner really only is there for stuff happening prior to when you step foot on the venue.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a lot of wedding planners, too, offer an option to do like full service wedding planning or just day of coordination. We are a full service venue. So we do all of that. So it's almost, I've had wedding planners that have worked at Lakeview say, it's almost silly to have a day of coordinator with you side by side because you do that there. Like, why would I need to hire that outside person? Again, we're more than welcome to have anyone that is a planner to join us at Lakeview. But again, we provide a service that not every venue provides.
And also, too, I think that some of the, like you said, some of the wedding planners, there's different tiers of service. So if you're a listener and you're getting married somewhere, especially at Lakeview or somewhere that is an all-inclusive planning, am I saying the right words here?
Yep.
Yeah. Then you don't really need the wedding planner, like you said, from the time you're on site on. But maybe you might need them. Maybe you need them for your rehearsal. Maybe you might need them for, prior to getting ready or, other day of stuff. But if everything's happening right there, then like you said, it's kind of an overlap of service.
Right. And think of like when I hear the word all inclusive, I think of like a tropical location that when you get there, like you don't have to worry about anything else because they're taking care of everything. Mm-hmm. And that 100% is what we are. We're an all inclusive venue that when you step in, everything is taken care of. Of course, your beverage and food is taken care of, but the quality of service, you're paying for that service. Don't get me wrong, but it's unmatched.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and then I think we're going to come back, and I think we're going to talk about Lakeview Pavilion and the all-inclusive venue coordination that you all do, because there is a difference for the listeners of venues that do have all-inclusive and venues that don't. And obviously, venues that don't, then you really need a wedding planner. But if you have that, then I think you may not. And I'm not saying that you may not, but you may not at the venue. So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about the differences. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you like what you're hearing, I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. And don't forget, you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate if you left a fabulous review on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support. And now, let's get back to the episode. All right, well, welcome back, podcast friends. So, Michelle, before the break, we were talking a little bit about like event coordinators and wedding planners, the difference. But let's talk about what you do. Can you tell me a little bit about what separates Lakeview compared to other venues?
Of course. So I'll actually explain a little bit about, what I do specifically. I was originally hired to do all of our marketing coordination 5 years ago, which then evolved into doing event coordination and, wearing a lot of different hats, being an event planner with us. So there's a lot of different job titles that I wear throughout my time. And again, I've said before, we have a small office. I'm owned and operated by two sisters that have owned Lakeview for 33 years. And that has been an unbelievable experience working for them and learning how they're immigrants from Greece. So learning how they were able to build this business from nothing into what it is today is absolutely unbelievable. And they've had a lot of absolutely amazing people to work for them. So one of my event planners has been there for 32 years, and my manager has been there for 33. Our accountant has been there for 16 years, and our chef, same thing. So I think that says a lot about how we are as a business, is that a lot of these workers have worked for them for so long. And that also goes for our wait staff as well. We've had some wait staff that has been there for almost 20 plus years. And I think that says so much about a business. And it's become a familiarity. Like a lot of our clients, we have a lot of repeat clients or family repeat clients, and they see the servers and they recognize the staff. So we really are creating that wholesome family, my big fat Greek wedding, feel. So again, for me, it's about comfortability. So, the owners have always instilled in us that I've said before this, that we have one chance to make a good first impression. You also really have one chance to get married. So we want to make sure that day is the best day that it can be. So we all treat this day as if it was our own. We want to make sure that we go absolutely above and beyond. And this goes for every single wedding, whether you're a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday couple, you're being treated the exact same throughout the time. So I think what really sets us apart, again, is that we are a family business, and we've been doing this for a very, very long time, and that we absolutely love what we do.
Clearly.
I know. Can you sense the passion in me? I love what we do, and I love our business, and I'm honored to work there, to be honest.
Yeah, but you know what, though? This goes back down to what you were talking about before the break, was that if you just go on property and you visit, you can see it. You can sense it. I mean, people can sense, no matter where they go and they visit the venues, you all can sense what I would assume. Right?
You're right. And this goes for any venue, for sure. I mean, if I were to walk into a venue in California and I just fell in love with it, then, every location has its perks and sometimes its weaknesses.
But I was going to say, you can sense when someone loves it. You may not be able to sense when things might not be handled the way you handle it, but you can definitely sense who's handling it that way, is what I'm trying. Like, if you can sense the passion, is what I'm saying. You can't mask that.
Let me tell you a story, and I'm going to keep it kind of broad. So we've had a lot of couples come in and just say to us, like, we have not seen the passion and the energy that you all have. For me, of course, I'm not engaged yet. But if I weren't going to get married at Lakeview, if I were to walk into a space and I see that this event manager has no passion, immediately for me, I am sold that I am not having my wedding there. I don't care if it is the best venue in the city. It's not happening because I can't sense that they're going to get excited for me about my big day. So for listeners, that's important, that when you walk in, and our sales manager is there's no one like her. Smile on her face all the time, and she genuinely cares about the couples and the day that they're going to have. And I mean, I also think too, Sarah, it shows so much that a lot of our coworkers, my coworkers, have had their kids' weddings there, their family weddings there, because they just know what we provide, price or not. They know the service that we provide, so they wouldn't want to have it anywhere else.
And also, too, you were saying how people have been there for a long time. There's not a lot of turnover. And that's what I meant earlier when I said, sometimes you're handed to different people. I don't mean the process, like you said, you have a sales rep and then you have a manager. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, 5 of you have already turned over sometimes at some of these venues. That's what I mean by
correct.
Or like the wait staff, there's a constant turnover. So they're constantly training people. Or the sales reps, they're constantly training people. There's a turnover. Or somebody will have an event coordinator that they've had 4 different event coordinators.
Yeah.
So the fact that, you all are like a team, a family, a lot of you guys have been there for a while. You talked about people having their own weddings there. It's all about the passion, and I personally feel that when you tour places, you can sense that there's passion. You can't hide that.
No, you can't hide passion. And I mean, I'm sitting here like shaking, so excited talking about it because I am passionate about what I do, but I'm also passionate about the business that we operate. So I think that is huge. And that's why I said, earlier, it's not about just sending that email inquiry. You need to go and meet with people. Something can look great on paper, but it's not until you actually feel excited about a space that it's the one for you.
What can couples expect from you the day of?
Me specifically, I think that's a loaded question. So, when couples come right into our space, the excitement on my face, I cannot hide it. 1, I'm very excited for my own day, so I picture myself in their shoes. 2, I just, again, love what I do, so I'm just excited to get the day going. And 3, I get excited because they don't know how amazing this event is actually going to be. They're just walking in and they have 5 more hours and they have absolutely no idea. I've experienced several Lakeview weddings before and they've never experienced one. So knowing what they're going to get is unbelievable. I personally really try to get close to the couples. I am not afraid to reach out to them on Instagram. I'm not afraid to follow them. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that some people don't want to answer because it makes them feel more comfortable. I'm not afraid to pull up a bride's dress if she's falling out of it. I'm not afraid to take someone's gum out of their mouth because it shouldn't be there for photos. I really make sure to go above and beyond because, again, I'm getting those photos and I want to use them to market my business. But I want to make sure that the client has the absolute best day. Come a couple hours later after they've come into our space, we've served them their meal, they've done their parents' dances. You 100% will find me either on the dance floor next to the DJ or in the back of the ballroom dancing because I can't control myself. I don't want to sit in the office. I want to act like this is my own wedding day. And this is a true story. Not kidding. One of the weddings that we've had, summer 2021, the wobble came on.
Oh gosh.
And my whole staff knows the dance. So our manager, our owners know that whenever the song comes on, the staff is dancing. We were in the back of the ballroom dancing. There was probably 6 of us. There was only a couple people on the dance floor. Every single guest turned around and watched us do the dance and cheered for us after the song was over, and they're like, oh, we love that you guys love to have fun at work. And if that's how they feel, like that's amazing. Like they're taking videos of us, they're taking photos of us. Like that's what we want to show clients is that, yes, we love what we do. And yeah, we're not afraid to have fun while doing it.
I love it. So before you were having fun on the job, what experiences have you had prior that helped you today?
Sure. So actually, Lakeview was my first job out of college. I graduated from Roger Williams University in 2016 with a public relations communications degree, thinking I wanted to go into television, journalism. I've had lots of internships at TV stations in Rhode Island, in Boston. But then my last internship, my senior year, was with a floral and event designer in Rhode Island. And I really started getting into the wedding business that way. working events and doing design work. And I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to do events my whole life. Like, why not just make what I've always wanted to do a reality? So I was fortunate enough to get a text from my friend that her aunt is my boss now. And it all came full circle, last December when we actually had her wedding at Lakeview. It was amazing to think that the girl that helped me get my job, I was her venue coordinator that day. And I actually provided off-site services for her as well through Lakeview. So it was really amazing to see that all come around.
Interesting. You just said you provided off-site services from Lakeview. So what is this?
Yes. So we're really starting to introduce a new program at Lakeview where we can provide that off-site service. We will go to the church and help you with your rehearsal, line your wedding party up. We will help you create that timeline that's outside of your venue timeline. So again, it's a service that we know that we provide high quality service. So we want to make sure that we can provide that to guests, clients as well.
So Michelle, earlier when we were talking about when you should hire a wedding planner and when your event coordinator is good enough, one of the tips that we gave was that obviously your event coordinator can't do stuff off-site or can't do stuff earlier in the day or before you get on site. But you're offering that service to your couples.
Correct.
At Lakeview. That's it. I've never heard that before. I've been doing this for 19 years, and I've always seen wedding planner and event coordinator, two separate things. And one handles the entire day. If you have an event coordinator that can't do it all, or they're just not as passionate as obviously you are, or it's a home wedding, or it just doesn't have the type of services that your venue has. But I've never seen it in the situation where the actual venue will go off-site for their couples and kind of play the wedding planner role before they even get to the venue.
Right. I think that this is a service, like you said, that not really anyone in this area provides.
No.
But you know what, though? No one also provides the service that we do at Lakeview in
No,
general.
actually, I don't know any venue that is doing that. Granted, I know you're only doing it for your couples, but this really, you're now crossing over to the line of wedding planning.
Correct. So that goes back to really what this topic is about. I know that what I am doing is very similar to what a wedding planner could potentially do. So that's why we're offering this service. But even if we were to go back, Sarah, right? If a couple were to walk in at a different location in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, wherever it may be, if they're not providing that service, again, it could look so beautiful. The landscape could be stunning. You're picturing your photos outside where your first dance is going to be. That's great in theory. But for me, I want to make sure that my guests are leaving saying, wow, that was the best run event we've ever been to. Because if the food isn't good, if the service isn't good, if certain things are not great, people are going to remember what wasn't good. It could be stunning outside. I know so many people that have got married at beautiful locations. But at the end of the day, it's not, the location that I'm like, wow, that was great. It's the service that you provide. And that's huge. I can't hit that home enough. But how would a client know walking in, I know the service is going to be great. Look at those reviews. Talk to former clients. We've even offered that if a client wants to speak to a former bride of ours to really get full details. There's so many Facebook groups out there that people are chatting about this, which, of course, every vendor is a part of. But there's just – it's not just looks and it's not just price that's going to get you. Again, my venue is not the cheapest in the industry, but you're getting 100% what you pay for.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love those little tips for people. And then obviously, guys, if you're listening and you have a venue that doesn't have all the service that Lakeview provides, that's when you might want to seek out and get a wedding planner. Or that's also too when you might want to tackle it yourself. I mean, you can timeline yourself. Talk to your other venues. Talk to your photographer. I can tell you, I'm talking about non-venue stuff, like before we get to the venue, as far as like how long it should take you to get ready, or when you should put your makeup and hair on, and when you should have your first look. Your photographer can really help you with that if they're experienced. But I really think that if you have an event coordinator that kind of does it all like you do, you're in good hands. And it's kind of redundant.
But it's also, too, you have to ask those tough questions. You need to know what you're getting. Like I said, But also, too, it's not redundant. I mean, sorry, not to interrupt. No,
I don't want to take it away from a wedding planner. I'm just saying, talk to your wedding planner and see what they can provide in addition to what you're already doing.
I agree. Because sometimes event coordinators, they sit back and they let the wedding planner do that job.
Yeah.
It's just the nature sometimes, but sometimes event coordinators like myself will just not do that.
So, Michelle, for our wrap-up question, what are some key points that couples should be asking their event coordinator to ensure that their wedding day is going to be a perfect event?
Sure. So I would say 3 points. One is, how long is the venue coordinator going to actually be at your event? The second one is, will you be the one to coordinate my timeline throughout the entire day? And the third is, are you going to be the one to work with my vendors to make sure that everything stays on time and things are done accordingly? So with how long are you going to be at my event? I'm someone that's there from 3 hours before the event till an hour after the event ends to make sure that vendors are brought in successfully, that guests know where they're going when they walk in the door, to the end of the night that vendors make sure they're leaving in a timely manner, and to make sure that everyone gets out of the door safely. For timeline, that's something that I keep on me throughout the entire day. I have a copy of that on me. So I know what's happening. And of course, as a venue coordinator, I have staff that work with me to make sure that the timeline is done in a timely manner. But to make sure that we're not going past timing, or we're not pushing things, or to make sure that family members are ready when things need to happen, dances need to happen, speeches are ready to go, so that we do stay on time. And as far as the vendors, like I've said to you before, it's so important for the vendors to actually get along with the staff at the venue, and that they're in a clear understanding of how you as a vendor operate. We personally at Lakeview treat our vendors like they're our guests. We want to make sure that they're having a great experience. And I can't tell you how many times people have come up to us and say, I want to keep coming back here all the time. You guys are a dream to work with. But that's because we keep a timeline. That's because we're there the whole time. So it all ties together. So I think that's really the difference. If your venue coordinator can't follow through on those 3 things, I would say that is when you need to hire an outside wedding planner to help you get throughout the day.
I love it. A lot of little nuggets.
Little nuggets for the day. Every little bit helps.
I love it. Thank you so very much for joining me on this week's episode of Wedding Secrets Unveiled. You helped our listeners become one step closer to their journey of stress-free wedding planning. Can you tell everybody where they could find you?
Yes. So I personally have a behind-the-scenes Instagram page that I use. It's at Michelle_LVP. And our business page is at Lakeview Pavilion.
I love it. And then for our listeners, what I will do is I will put all of your information on our show notes that you can find on our blog, on our website, which is at sarahzarella.com/podcast. Thank you for listening to Wedding Secrets Unveiled. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you something. I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. We love photographing while having fun, of course. Check out our podcast page on our website for our show notes, along with upcoming episodes with your local wedding experts. Listen in as we help you plan your epic event. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. I would so appreciate if you left a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support, and let us know what you think. If you know any wedding experts that would like to be a guest, we have a link directly on our website where they can let us know. Thank you for listening.